for the YouTube to wake up. Wait, I don't need these yet. I don't want to have them in until I have to. There we go. There we go. YouTube's coming too. YouTube's coming too. Yeah. Huh? There we go. What's up, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good morrow, good day, good times. Stay safe. It is Wednesday, March 25th in this year of our quarantine Lord 2020. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are making it over the hump, as they say. And yeah, I hope you're safe. You know, we're still amidst a very weird time. And I hope you and yours are doing well, are being safe, and are getting through the best we can. So it's Wednesday, and I wanted to start off with the song of the day because we're going to talk about the stimulus bill, and it's spoiler alert, it ain't so great. It's not so great. As I'm sure we all kind of expected, but it's kind of like, eh. So I thought we'd start out with the song of the day because I figured we really needed a happy one because, yeah, we're going to get into it. Also, we have a guest later in the hour. We're going to have a Green Party presidential nominee. He's running for president under the Green Party banner. Chad Wilson is going to be joining the show later in the hour. He's going to hop on around 11:30. So we'll be talking to him for the second part of today's show. But song of the day, Mint Car by The Cure. It's a very celebratory song. I really thought there couldn't be anything better than this. A gorgeous Strawberry Kiss. It's a celebratory song. It's a fun song. It's an upbeat song. Mint Car by The Cure. Check it out. Full disclaimer, after my wife and I kissed at the, well, it wasn't an altar. We didn't do a religious ceremony. It was a secular ceremony. But once we kissed at the, at the place where we did it, we walked down, we walked down the way, and that song was playing. That was our exit music after our wedding ceremony. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, Mint Car by The Cure. Today's song of the day, and it's a good one. Let's go straight to the bill, shall we? The $2 trillion coronavirus stimulus bill. This is from Business Insider. Business Outsider, not as popular of a zine. Business Insider, they're like, we want to hear from the insider. The outsider, that's just a bunch of people going like, business is lame. I don't want to talk about that. Let's talk about art. Business Outsider. I read articles from both, really. I think both have value. I am an avid reader of both Business Insider and Business Outsider. But right now, we're Business Insider. The $2 trillion coronavirus stimulus bill will probably not be enough to protect workers and save the economy, Schumer says. What an inspiring dude. Right off, look at that guy. He's like, maybe someone else will do more. He's just pointing. What's he pointing at? He's probably pointing at Wall Street. We got you. Don't worry, boo. Main Street, this isn't enough for you. Here you go, American people. This probably won't do much for you. Wall Street, gotcha. Banks, you're covered. People, probably not. It's probably not going to be enough. Man, doesn't that just inspire? What a leader. Yeah, this isn't going to help you really. But it's, yeah, we have trillions. We've already given trillions to the banks. We could just, make the currency whenever we feel like it. But, yeah, we're just not going to do anything for you. Why? Because we don't want to, really. I mean, yeah, there's no reason why we can't do more for you, but we're not going to. Screw you. The bill should just be called Screw You. All right, so here's what's in it. The United States Senate and the White House agreed Wednesday on a $2 trillion stimulus bill to help bolster American workers and the economy riven by the coronavirus pandemic. Probably not going to be enough, though. Probably this isn't going to, and it isn't, by the way. We're going to read into what exactly is in it. It's the largest emergency stimulus package in modern American history. All right, so here's what we get. American individuals making less than $75,000 will be given a one-time payment of $1,200. And billions more would be given to small businesses. Yeah, they get loans, by the way. local and state governments, and hospitals. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said Congress will probably need to provide more aid to Americans and the economy as the crisis continues. After a strained week of negotiations, the Senate agreed on a $2 trillion stimulus bill to help American workers and the economy. The bipartisan effort, which has White House approval, is the largest in American history. Not enough, though. Here's what Chuck Schumer had to say. We should be willing, able to come back, blah, 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 and do more if we need it. Okay, that's nice, Chuck. So if the bill passes both houses of Congress and is approved by Donald Trump, it would give direct payments to American workers, which could begin in April. We don't know exactly when they're going to begin. Some people are speculating May. According to this article, could begin in April. You're going to get $1,200 at some point. Do you have any more questions? Shut up. We don't care. You're going to get a one-time payment of $1,200. No rent freeze, no mortgage freeze, no student debt relief, nothing like that. Here's $1,200. Shut up. All right. So anyway, less is going to go to people that make more than $75,000. Unemployment. Now, here's something that is happening that has never happened in my lifetime, as far as I know. If this has ever happened in my lifetime, I was not cognizant of it, meaning I was, too young to be paying attention to anything like this. But anyway, they're saying unemployment insurance will also be temporarily expanded, increasing such payments by $600 a week for the next 4 months. And here's the interesting part, covering gig economy workers, freelancers, and furloughed employees. That means self-employed people, which includes yours truly. So for the first time in my adult life, since I've had a day job, so it's been over a decade since I've had a traditional day job. What's up, Lucy? Someone like me will be able to apply for employment on insurance. Employment on insurance. I just said that. Employment on insurance. You can quote me on that one. Unemployment insurance. You guys get a piece of that on employment on insurance. Employment on insurance is my new band that I'm starting. I'm starting that band. It's going to be, so that's an interesting component, at least. Now I'm sure it's going to be, I'm sure they're going to make you jump through a ton of hoops to get a dime. And who knows exactly. What's up, Lucy? Come here. Here. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, who knows the specifics here. But that's interesting that, freelancers, gig economy workers, which, by the way, that's a lot of people in the United States economy. They'll also be able to apply for unemployment benefits. So that's something different. By the way, who fought for that part? Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders fought for that addition. The bill allocates a total of $250 billion to individuals and families. Some $300 billion will go to small businesses, $150 for local and state governments. Hospitals will get $130 billion. Congress may bolster the stimulus with more funds. All right, so that's what we know so far. You're going to get $1,200 if you're under $75,000 a year. You're going to get $1,200, one-time payment, not a monthly thing. Unemployment has been expanded a little bit to include freelancers, which that's cool, but as far as how easy that will be to get or what you'll actually qualify for, we don't know that yet. We have no idea yet. I mean, first they have to enroll it. They have to say, okay, additional people can get it, and then we'll see the details. So let's go over to the Twitter. I retweeted this. I wanted to show it to you guys. Here's what Fiorella Isabella from the Convo Couch had to say. Where's mine? Here we go. Corona stimulus bill summarized. $1,200 one-time payment for most Americans making under $75K. More loans, less direct aid. Small businesses get zero aids, just loans under $350 billion plan, and only if their payroll is steady during pandemic. Corporations get the most with $500 billion. And by the way, something else, no rent freeze, no mortgage freeze, no utility freeze, no moratorium on anything like that. That's just business as usual. But here, they're going to give you $1,200. Let's go ahead and search the hashtag, shall we? Stimulus bill. And by the way, I think they're still bloviating about this. I think they're still going. So here's Thai ballerina echoes this. No rent freeze, no student debt forgiveness. one-time payment, $1,200 per person. Now they're saying no money until May. According to that article, it might happen in April. And Dr. Victoria Dooley here says a $1,200 one-time payment isn't enough. Pass it on. Guys, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with your one-time payment? I mean, I'm thinking, I'm not sure what I want to do yet. I'm thinking I might buy a mansion. I'm thinking I might just give it all to the Joe Biden campaign, really. Here's $1,200. Shut up. Now here, let's see if they're still. So they were pontificating about this earlier today. Let's see if it's still going. So let's see if they're still live. Hold up. Oh, it looks like they're not here. We'll go to it for a second. All right, it looks like they're done. Unless they're going to pass the torch to somebody else. I'm sorry, guys. We missed the live Senate to vote on $2 trillion coronavirus bill. We might have missed the whole thing. I was watching it earlier this morning. I listened to Chuck Schumer speak, so you guys didn't have to. Well, here, let's see what the Guardian's saying.
Last year has now spread across the globe. The Chinese Communist Party deceived the world, even their own people, and unleashed the worst pandemic in a century on us all. Now it falls to us to defeat it. Here at home,
wow.
Strange and unsettling hush has fallen over much.
Starting out with a little xenophobia. That's how you ease in Americans' politics. Start with a little bit of xenophobia.
In New York, Seattle, New Orleans, and elsewhere, preparation for the virus has ended. The virus has arrived in force. The urgent battle to suppress it has begun. In emergency rooms and ICUs, courageous doctors and nurses are already locked in a battle to save the lives of their patients. Protective gear is in short supply, but their regard for safety and even family comes second to their duty.
Yeah, why is it in short supply? Why don't we talk about that?
Run thing in those cities as they struggle to keep their hospitals open and functioning. But make no mistake, the China virus will spare.
Oh my God, he's calling it the China virus. He's calling it the China virus. And you can tell he's reading all of this for the first time. By the way, I'm not even sure who this guy is. He does not give a shit about anything he's saying.
Emergency legislation for our nation.
You're getting $1,200 one time.
Massive infusion of funds to our healthcare system. But this legislation isn't about stimulus.
What's it about then?
Survival.
Okay.
With this legislation behind us, Americans are beginning to ask, what's next?
Where do they find these people?
Yes, the virus is testing us already. And it has already touched most of us by closing our churches, shuttering our businesses, threatening the jobs and retirement savings of millions of Americans.
That's what I've been thinking too. I can't go to church. That's the most important thing. Churches, that's what he brings up first. He got this guy. Wow. No, I'm not sure which member of Senate this is, just looking at his face. I'm assuming he's a Republican. I mean, just based on the stuff he's saying, he's calling it the China virus. Opening up with that xenophobia and hatred of the other. That's how we're going to get through a pandemic. All right, let's see a little bit more of what.
Lives. It's only natural that so many are wondering anxiously when and how this unprecedented crisis will end. And when it ends, will their jobs still be there? How will they put food on the table? How will they pay the bill?
So I used to teach public speaking. This dude reading way too much. He should have put a little more effort memorizing his spiel. He should have put a little more effort on eye contact. He should put a little more effort on just having note cards instead of just straight up reading it point blank. All right, here he goes.
Americans want to know the plan so they can do their part. More fundamentally, they want to know that there is a plan. Upended routines combined with worry
spoiler alert, there is no plan
about the future naturally breeds frustration. We are citizens, after all, not merely passive carriers of a deadly pathogen. This
He got that.
frustration has
That
given
was a
rise to
mouthful.
new
He
and
got that
growing
out.
argument that Americans can't wait any longer, that we ought to open back up and take our chances with this virus.
Yes, that is what some idiots are saying. That's true. He's like, let's take a moment. I opened up with some xenophobia. Now I got to take a minute to see what the true morons of the country are saying. Now, some morons are saying we should just open up the economy. I mean, remember, Lieutenant Governor Diff, I'm willing to die for capitalism. Let's send out our elderly to die to stimulate the stock market. All right, so let's see what he has to say.
After all, we can't stay inside forever.
Brilliant insight.
We can't, as the saying goes, let the cure be worse than the disease.
So people have been saying that the past couple of days. It makes no, like, what the hell are they talking about? We can't take precautionary measures. We can't let the cure be worse than the. Nobody knows that. That means nothing. By the way, that means like that's the freedom fries of this pandemic. It means absolutely nothing. We can't let the cure be worse than the. Anyway.
The urgency to stave off economic collapse is, of course, understandable. And it's tempting.
No, it's not, because there's no reason for economic collapse. There's no reason for it. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. We can get through this.
To think that we face a simple choice between shutting down to fight the virus and opening up to save the economy.
That's not a choice. Yeah, that's a false, that's just a false equivalency. It's not shutting, it's shutting down to save our lives. It's shutting down for the healthy well-being of people, and we can keep the economy afloat. Why? Because we make our own currency. This is a false, and I get it. We can't shut down forever. No one's suggesting that. But we can do what we need to do to reverse this thing and beat this thing. And we can keep ourselves afloat in the meantime if we actually had a government that was acting on behalf of the people and not on behalf of corporations and shareholders. But they're acting on behalf of corporations and shareholders. And what do those people want? They want all the money for themselves. And they want you to go back to work to help their wheel keep it turning. And they don't. So this whole thing about saving the economy, it's a bunch of freaking nonsense. It's a bunch of nonsense. There's no reason why we can't have a social safety net to keep people afloat until this thing is over. This guy is bringing about a false equivalency. It's, all right, I'm done with this guy. Let's see what Fox Business is saying.
Economy isn't seized up.
Oh, same. All right, so they're all on the same. They're all on the same wavelength here. It's still this guy.
Virus. So an immediate reopening without the resources in place to fight the virus isn't an option. Our hospitals would be overwhelmed. Our brave doctors and nurses would succumb to the illness. Our businesses would keep their doors closed or would quickly close their doors again as workers and customers stayed away.
This guy still has yet to make a point. He still has yet. All he has done so far is called it the China virus. Spreading that xenophobia, baby. All he has done so far is babble on about how the people with the dumbest ideas are actually wrong. And then he's drawn this false equivalency that it's like, well, we either have to protect our lives or we have to protect our economy. That's ridiculous. By the way, why do we even have we have an economy for our lives? At the end of the day, humanity is what's most important. Our species existing and seeking a quality of life is what is most important, not what shareholders at Wall Street get. Not this, not a number that represents a gross domestic product or represents, the output of workers. At the end of the day, it's are people able to survive and have a decent quality of life? That's it. At the end of the day, that's all we need. So if we need to, have some social safety in the meantime, because we can't work, we're not able to work. So we need to sustain ourselves and the federal government needs to step in. That's just what happens. The economy is not going to, quote, collapse. It's not going to happen that way. It's just going to kind of stay afloat and then kick back in. That's it. No one wants to stay indoors forever. This guy's in.
The supposed choice between saving the economy and fighting the virus turns out not to be much of a choice at all.
Because it's just nonsense.
We can't yet stop the strong.
It's a bullshit talking point.
Because we have no better option in the short run. But neither can we continue them forever. The American people can only hold out for so long. So we must come up with a better plan.
By the way, this is
fast.
This guy who's been talking about nothing for a while. It's Tom Cotton. Excuse me. I went to say Tom Cotton from Arkansas. That's what I went. So Tom Cotton from Arkansas. That's the senator who is speaking now. Yeah, and he's out in Arkansas. And so far, he said absolutely nothing. Let's see if he actually says something.
That plan starts with this big pause as we protect ourselves and each other. We simply don't have the resources today to fight any other way. But it won't end with this approach. We must use the precious days and weeks ahead to lay the groundwork for a new strategy.
You know, once again, I used to teach public speaking at a community college, and sometimes there would be students that they kind of were underprepared on their topic, and they needed to fill a certain time allotment, and they did not have anything to fill that time allotment with, and I could tell. And that's this dude. By the way, he has nothing to say, and he's just filling his time with words. But this is what's going on right now. This is what our Senate's doing in real time. This is our Senate. Here's the plan they came up with. A plan that, once again, if you're just tuning in, you get one-time payment of $1,200. They did expand people who can apply for unemployment insurance to include freelancers. That's something new. Billions are given to corporations. There's small business loans for small businesses, and these are just loans. And that's it. No rent freeze, no mortgage freeze, no utility freeze, no student debt relief, nothing. Here's $1,200. You're on your own. That's what this stimulus package is. And Democrats and Republicans are proud of it. Who really wins here? The corporations and the banks. The banks who have already gotten trillions, by the way. They're making a big deal that this is a $2 trillion stimulus package. The banks have already gotten multiple payments of $1.5 trillion. That's what the banks have already gotten. All right, let's see Tom Cotton babble on about nothing more. This is our Senate. This is our Senate. That's incredibly useful. So useful that we have a Senate, by the way. So freaking useful.
A strategy that will allow all of us to gradually get back to work. For that to happen, we'll need to.
Did you hear someone cough? Did you hear someone just coughed really loud? He's babbling on about nothing. Someone just coughed really loud. Anyway, I thought that was kind of
rapidly test for the virus, as they have in South Korea. So we have a sense of where the virus is and where we must keep it contained. Already, America's public laboratories and companies are rising to the challenge, processing tens of thousands of tests. But our ability to test must grow even faster, and it is. We'll need masks too, billions of them. And we'll need local personnel trained and prepared to do widespread contact tracing for those who test positive. We'll have to develop procedures for strict quarantines of those who test positive or those who've been exposed to the virus.
He's now in the no shit Sherlock portion of his speech.
With zero tolerance.
Someone in the chat said, let's stop talking and pass a bill already.
For breaking quarantine and endangering our fellow citizens.
This is our Senate. This is what...
Once these elements are in place and the first wave of this virus is passed, then we'll be prepared to reopen our cities and communities while remaining vigilant about new outbreaks. These preparations will ensure we're ready to sustain our way of life until our scientists can create what we so desperately need: therapeutic drugs and, ultimately, a vaccine. A vaccine may take a year or more before it's available. But these other intermediate precautions...
This is all stuff we've known for weeks. It's all stuff. It might take a year or more for the vaccine. Yeah, we know. We know. Despite what Donald Trump has said multiple times, we know this. We know this, Tom Cotton. This is our Senate, by the way. This is what they're doing right now.
Must go into effect much, much faster. America must indeed reopen. When we do,
here you go.
Decisions must be based on local conditions, not an arbitrary nationwide timeline. Our governors and mayors understand their local conditions. They can make gradual, rolling, calibrated decisions in a way that is responsible when the tools to effectively fight this virus are ready and available. What I've outlined may seem like a daunting, even an impossible challenge, but our nation has overcome far greater challenges before. Already, America is rising to take on the China virus. The giant of American industry is wakening, retooling our factories to...
All right, new drinking game, because honestly, that's the most productive thing we could do right now. Every time he calls it the China virus, take a sip of whatever it is, whether it's your morning water, your morning coffee, your morning juice, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. No judgment here. I got a water and a coffee going. I'm doing a water-coffee combo. Anyway, this guy, yeah, all right.
Join this fight, just as we did during World War II. Never bet against America's workers
Jesus.
and American ingenuity.
Never bet against America's workers. We're not betting against them. We have so much confidence in the American worker, we're not going to do jack shit to help them.
And all across this country, Americans are springing into action. We know the vital role our doctors and nurses will play in the coming months, alongside our first responders, our factory workers and farmers, our grocers, and on down the list. Ask yourself now, how can you help? Can you keep your distance from those most at risk, realizing that the China virus preys on our most earnest desires for society and companionship? Can you offer your charity to a friend in need? Can you pick up groceries for your elderly neighbor? Can you keep your workers on payroll and benefits just a little longer till...
Can you share your Netflix password with somebody in need?
Till our legislation kicks in? Can you postpone your tenant's rent for a month? Can you pray for deliverance?
Why don't you make the... Dude! Why don't you include a rent freeze? How about we get a rent freeze and a mortgage freeze? How about we get that? He made a polite plea. Landlords, could you maybe you could help out a little bit? You can't evict people until the end of April. You can't do that. All right, let's. This is what a waste all of this is.
Of our nation and the world. These are just a few of the things we must do as a country to make reopening possible and life bearable in the months ahead. We're all in this together, so we'll need to have each other's best interests at heart.
Especially the corporations. We really need to have their best interest at heart.
Many years of comfort and ease have perhaps conditioned us to ask only what we're free to do, not what we're called to do. But the old disciplines of peril,
what a bunch of bullshit,
threaten to return. We'll need old notions of duty to maintain order in the face of them. The darkest days of this crisis are, in all likelihood, still ahead of us. Let us face up to them bravely. Let us acknowledge the troubles ahead, and let us devote our whole energy to winning this battle quickly so that the normal life of our nation can resume. Mr. President, I yield the floor.
Okay, I honestly don't think I can do any more of this. I mean, that's... Do you need to see any more? I mean, I feel like that's enough. What a painful waste of time all of that was. That was completely and utterly pointless. He gave nothing in terms of solutions. He gave nothing in terms... And again, He just happened to be the guy who was on when we went over to it. This is happening in real time, unless, of course, you're listening to the podcast later. Then this is not happening in real time anymore. That was Tom Cotton from Arkansas talking about absolutely nothing. What's going on in this bill? Again, you get $1,200 one time if you make $75K or under. One-time payment, that's it. No rent freeze, no mortgage freeze, no student debt relief, no utility assistance, nothing like that. They are going to expand unemployment insurance. And if you're a freelancer or self-employed, you are going to be able to apply. As far as the restrictions there, as far as the details there, that's what we're waiting on. We don't know any of that yet, but they are going to expand that. That's thanks to Bernie Sanders, by the way, which is a good thing. And the corporations get billions. Small businesses will be able to get some loans. That's it. And then you have to listen to these senators talk about absolutely nothing. Babble on and on about, oh, the economy collapse versus saving our lives, as if that's the option, as if that's what's at stake. It isn't. Meanwhile, they're giving trillions to the banks. They're bailing out industry after industry, just handing the money, and they're not giving us anything. And then they're going to bullshit you for a while. They're just going to, that guy talked about absolutely nothing. So there you go. That's your Senate hard at work. That's what your Senate's doing for you. But we do have a guest today, and he's in the green room now. And his name is Chad Wilson. He is he's a member of the Green Party, and he's running for president in 2020. Chad, what's up, buddy? Can you hear me? You're on the air.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can. Okay. There's a little delay, but I hear you just fine, man. Thanks for being here.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. So let's kind of get everything straight right off the bat. I mean, I'm sure you're pretty. First of all, congratulations on the $1,200 you're going to get. I don't know what you're going to do with yours. I plan on buying a mansion, but you know, whatever you're going to do with yours, I wish you all the best with it. But
thank you very much.
But so you are running for president
Yes.
in the Green Party.
Yes.
Okay, so how long has that been going on? Fill me in on the details there.
Well, yeah. First, I want to say that I'm not the nominee. I'm running for the nomination.
Right.
So I'm a candidate. For it.
Yeah.
Let me just say that. I joined the race kind of late. It was early September by the time I kind of got in, and the other candidates had already been in for a little bit. And actually, there was 2 more candidates that joined in December. So it's been a crazy process, and a lot different than I thought it was going to be. You know, then I guess my expectation was going to be a little bit more inclusive, but there's been a lot of usage of resources to, you know, manipulate the primary, just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Donna Brazile. There's a lot of behind the scenes manipulation of it. So
what's been going on so far?
Well, I mean, Ian Schlockman, he's actually quit the race. He was a presidential candidate. He quit the race, and he's actually quit the Green Party. So it all started before I even got into the race. There was like a couple of joint statements from the candidates, which included Dario Hunter, and about some of the resources or allowing Howie Hawkins to get some extra stuff. And so there's been some conversation about that. And then when I joined in, I signed on to a couple of joint statements as well. They were trying to take us off the website, the Presidential Campaign Support Committee. They haven't been updating signatures, which, you know, it's kind of a silly system that they have. I mean, there's just a lot of underhanded play. Michael O'Neill is our communications director. He's the one who, I mean, I know you've been on the Greenway Ford.
Yeah, a couple times.
But he's on the payroll of Green Party NY, Green Party US, and he's been paid by the Hawkins campaign. So they kind of throttle the discussion page. They censor people, you know, if you don't kind of do what they say. Or
do you have direct evidence of this?
Oh yeah. No, I've been documenting everything.
Okay.
So even in Massachusetts, so there's a official recognition process, right? That's for the PCSC. It's the committee that handles the presidential. it's supposed to, when you get this official recognition, you're supposed to get extra resources from the party. Well, Hawkins is a member of the Socialist Party, SPUSA, since the 70s, and the rules require that you can't be a member or registrant of another political party. So there's been this issue that they've given him that official recognition, which has been used to prevent candidates such as myself and the other ones from even speaking at events. David Rold, he's one of the candidates. He's from Massachusetts. He's been in the party for 15 years, and they used the BS to keep him off the primary ballot. And I've been left off the primary ballot in a lot of states. So they wouldn't allow David to speak in front of 10 people in a statewide meeting. They weren't going to let him because of him not having so many signatures or whatever, the official recognition. And somebody had to change their registration. A husband of a lady that was there changed his registration online, called for a motion just for him to be able to, speak in front of 10 people. So, I mean, it's just little dirty stuff like that. The big thing has to do with all the co-chairs and these committee members that are on these positions that are actually making decisions on Hawkins' campaign as well. So they've kind of been using their position to pump him up and kind of create this whole narrative. Because that's the establishment. It's all about the narrative. It's all about control of the media, of what people think. And if you look at the Green Party, one of the things that I fell in love with was the 4 pillars. And when I joined, I didn't expect it to be so many gatekeepers, I guess, in some of these official positions.
Okay.
But my background is art, music, entertainment. So I understand the importance of this thing. And the party needs a complete makeover. The whole vibe's messed up, the energy. When you come to the party, they want you to phone bank in modern technology. And
how long?
Good.
So I don't want our entire chat to just be about all the ins and outs of the Green Party.
Gotcha.
And again, I can't. All the stuff you're saying, I can't speak to firsthand because I'm not a member of the Green Party myself. But so, when did you join
the Green Party?
Yes.
I joined the Green Party, I guess officially. Well, Tennessee doesn't have the ballot registration, so it's not like you say I'm a Democrat or Republican or whatever. We don't have ballot access, so it's not very active. So my engagement, I voted for Jill Stein in 2016.
Me too.
My engagement with the Green Party has been really with Greens across the country. And I really got involved when we were doing the Venturathon, which I know that you had gone on James Young's show. And we talked about the whole Jesse Ventura. So that's kind of when I became privy to what's kind of happening, because of the way they treated James and of course treated William, because we were doing the Venturathon together about a possible Ventura run. So that was more of my introduction to it as far as the people. But as far as my state party, I made sure to talk to them and everything when I actually decided to run.
So when did you decide to run? Like, what made you?
Well, it took me a few months to actually, pull the trigger on it. But it was the Venturathon, talking about all the things that Ventura could bring to the party. Just running in the primary, because the primary is supposed to be the time that gets people energized and excited about the Green Party. We're supposed to be the difference. We're supposed to show the different types of candidates, how we can share our ideas, and how we're supposed to organize the resources as a political party. So that got me really interested in understanding of what needed to happen. So when I started watching the process, and of course Ventura, he's drags his feet and doesn't really make decisions. I decided to go ahead and jump in because people weren't saying what I want them to say. I mean, I knew they were going to cheat Bernie. I knew this all was going to happen. And if the party's not ready, if the vibe's not right, people aren't going to come. We're here. People know we're here. Why aren't people coming and staying? So that's my main focus in this whole run, has been internal to identify and remove the toxic behavior. And it just so happened that I ran into a lot more issue because I thought it was just a few people, pockets here and there, but there's these factions and stuff like that, just like any other establishment, your churches, your schools. It's that kind of vibe.
So you're saying that you've run into a lot of bureaucracy, and you were kind of hoping that wasn't going to be the case,
right? Well,
really like a really nuts and bolts quick summary.
Right. I thought that I could just bring in my expertise to try and beef up and polish a couple little things and people be excited. But it's, they say, run green, until you run for president. And then they're like talking shit. And it's the vibe. It's the energy. That's why the party's not growing. That's why we don't have a third party. The third party is supposed to upset the establishment. So it pulls the Overton window. I mean, that's why I say the only way Bernie could get the nomination is if a third party populist candidate scared the shit out of the establishment, where they're like, fuck, we better go with Bernie, that kind of thing. So the party's there because the values are there. It's just our leadership, is still stuck in the 1980s. It's pretty bad. And I say that because the internal issues are everything. I mean, if we're not solid at home, then we don't have a real foundation to build off of. And that's been my focus. So,
well, what do you think? Let's kind of put together, let's put sort of like the bureaucracy that you see from the Green Party aside, because again, I don't have, but But what would you see as the way forward for the Green Party? Because, one thing that I've said is I do think, I'm not a very big Howie Hawkins fan. I don't think he would be a very good nominee. And I think that if the Greens, if he does become the nominee for the Green Party, I think it would be a very big missed opportunity, because I think you're going to have a whole new generation of people. They're trying to successfully cheat Bernie, and things are not looking great right now. It's not over yet, but things are not looking great.
Right.
And the way I see it, let's say, Bernie does become the nominee, miracle happens, Bernie's the nominee. Now you have someone who I would say is more of an ally to the Greens than we've ever seen in the White House in my lifetime. So that's a huge opportunity. Then let's say they successfully cheat Bernie, Biden's the nominee, and you have an old racist white guy versus an old racist white guy, and people are expected to choose between these two utterly repulsive choices. You're going to have a new generation of people, you already have it, who are looking for an answer. And if they're looking at their alternatives and they see, Howie Hawkins over at the Greens, who, policy-wise, he's for some good policies, but then you hear him, he spews Russia hysteria the same way anyone on MSNBC does almost. That's not going to bring people in. It just isn't. So what do you think needs to happen?
Well, we need to organize our resources. So the Green Party is a federation. So it's made up of a bunch of these state parties, and they join on to the GPUS. And so the thing about the president, the nominee, it's the face of the party. And what people think about the Green Party comes from the nominee, because it's the Super Bowl of elections. This is what gets people engaged. So what we have to do is utilize our resources and create content, create value for people's lives, even if we're not in the office. We need to make it as easy as possible for people to run. We need to have a real organized system, an online system. You want to talk about voting, we need to show what the example of a party should be, the engagement of how a country's supposed to run. Because there's a lot of things we can do in the private sector on the outside, as far as help people go to co-ops, help people understand, create social activities, that bring people together. So with all the stuff that's going on with the coronavirus, just as an example, I live in the rural area. I grew up in Nashville. Lived in Miami for 6 years, lived in Atlanta some. So when I came back to Tennessee, I wanted to be, where there's no people, because I've been on top of people for so long. understanding how much resources that the country has, from these old buildings to reclaimed material to the farmland, all these different things. There's a way that we can utilize the internet, we can utilize art and entertainment in order to create events, social interactions, and organize these resources, bring people out to the country, and have people from the city meet the country, and then again organize. The one thing that we have now that we've never had before is the opportunity to connect, and we've seen it in 2016, which is how Bernie really got going, was the social media thing, and you saw it in real time with the blackout. You saw everything that was happening. So the power is there. We just have to organize it. So example, go ahead.
Well, why do you think, and this is something, I've had this conversation with a couple Greens before, and, it's a question I personally don't know the answer to either, but why do you think like the DSA and some similar organizations like that have grown very considerably where the Green Party has not in comparison? I mean, you look at something like the Sunrise Movement, how that's blowing up. You look at something like the DSA, how that's blowing up. Even the SA is kind of growing, whereas the Green Party is kind of staying the same, it seems, and this isn't meant as a diss at all. I have a lot of friends who are Greens, and, I support lefties wherever they're at. I like the DSA. I like the Greens. I like the SA. I like MPP. I think if we all can kind of coalesce and form one movement, we might actually have a chance at, affecting some things. But why do you think that the Green Party has been slow in comparison?
Well, I think it's exactly what I've kind of been laying out. It's these people that have been in the party for so long, and they feel entitled to these positions. It's part of it's the branding. It seems like a high school type, like, get together kind of vibe, rather than really focusing on what we're creating and how we're organizing our resources. So, just for example, you have David Cobb and Michael O'Neill doing the Green Way Forward right on Jill Stein's page. So she's got 600,000 followers, and we all know how social media influencers work, right? Well, they do this show on Jill Stein's, and Michael uses his position to share that content on our official page. And what that does is that qualifies their outside organizations. But what they're doing is they're growing these outside organizations by using the Green Party to attach the name to. So the only people that you see that the party's promoting is people that are actually attached to Jill Stein, or this little small group of people. You haven't seen any promotion about a primary. The only ones you have been somehow connected to the whole Hawkins thing, and that's I got all this stuff documented. We've so 5 of us candidates, well, the new candidates joined in too, have been working together to address these issues, because the biggest problem is that they say we're supposed to be decentralized, but it really is centralized, because all it takes is a few people from these different state parties in order to make all these decisions. So we're not even organized in our 4 pillars. One will say peace, and the other one will say nonviolence. So there's little things that should have been fixed a long time ago if people were trying to listen. But like you said, you're not trying to talk down to the party, but these people aren't listening. The ones that are in these positions, they're not listening to say, hey, they say, oh, you're trying to tear us down. Well, we don't want to talk about the internal problems. And I'm like, we're supposed to be transparent. We're supposed to.
Well, so what do you think? And like, just as a disclaimer, I like Michael a lot. I like David a lot. I like the Green Way Forward a lot. I think what they're doing is a good thing. But like as far as like any ins and outs and favoritisms, I can't speak to that at all.
Right.
But so what do you think? Like going on that, for instance, that you gave. How should they behave in your opinion? Like, should they just interview all of the candidates and let the people decide? Like, what do you think they should do? And have you reached out to them? Have you reached out to them about being on the show?
Oh no, I don't. I'm not in any way trying to work with corrupt people, and what they're doing is corrupt. Now, I know you don't know what's going on in the party, but there's a lot of other things. Like David Cobb even tried to run that whole recount through the party, and that was a big whole ordeal. Jill Stein for president raised $150,000 in 2019, paying David Cobb, paying all, so what the party needs to do, because David Cobb and Michael O'Neill, that Green Way Forward is not a Green Party official thing. That's the whole point, is that they're using that and they're sharing it on official media, and it qualifies them, and people are donating and growing, which is fine. Do your organizations, grow your organizations. But when we're losing people and we don't have ballot access, we're losing ballot access, you shouldn't be throwing the eco-socialism event with 3 state parties, all these co-chairs, when it coincides with Howie Hawkins' whole eco-socialist Green New Deal thing. So the answer,
but the Green New Deal's been around a long time.
Well,
I mean, I'm not really in a position to agree
Gotcha.
or disagree with you.
Right. Well,
but I'm not really seeing, where this supposed corruption comes from as far as the Green Way Forward is concerned.
Well, the Green Way Forward,
I don't see the connection.
Okay, so the Green Way Forward is not an official organization with the party, right? It's not the party.
Right.
So Michael O'Neill is the media director. When you share outside organizations, outside content on the official pages, that's qualifying and putting eyeballs and sending money, resources, time, energy to those outside organizations. So the eco-socialism event, eco-socialism, that's the new brand, because it's all about the brand. We talk about the Green New Deal was originally
and that's been around before Howie Hawkins. That's not
right. But Howie Hawkins, says he's the Green New Dealer. They use that because he says he's the first one to run on it in 2010. So that's the whole point of how they're using these branding things, and they're using the party's resources in these indirect ways in order to control the narrative. So,
but shouldn't the Green? I mean, I think that there's a couple things that go beyond the candidates, and I think one of them is a Green New Deal. I mean, the Green New Deal did originate with the Green Party. I don't think anyone disputes that. It didn't.
No.
Who did it first?
Calling something in Europe with some guy across thing.
All right, but as far as the United States is concerned, I mean, the Green Party made noise about the Green New Deal first. Is that incorrect?
No, they took the phrase and used it here first.
Okay, so you're saying it originated in Europe. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I'm not familiar with that.
I mean, it's on the GP. It's on the GP U.S. website. GP.
Okay, but as far as the United States is concerned, the Green Party started making noise about it first.
Right.
Okay, so
the brand of that. So they're trying to switch the brand over to an eco-socialist Green New or eco-socialism, socialist Green New Deal. So it's all about branding and using these things in order to continue putting money and resources into these outside organizations. So I'm saying, what they should have been done is promoting the primary itself. This is when people are getting engaged. Let the voters decide, whether a candidate's shit or not. But that's the whole point, is they've manipulated the whole process in order to have a certain outcome, because again, it's a narrative. It's no different from the establishment on a large level. It's just happening in a small confine. And I've been, I've got all the documentation. I can of course send that to you, and you can check out that. But I mean,
what would be like getting back to your run here? So right. What would kind of be your path to try to get this nomination?
Well, it's going to be a contested convention regardless. Yeah.
And pardon my ignorance, but
no,
I believe that it happens in July for the Greens, correct? Is that right?
Correct, in Michigan.
Okay.
If we're, not in.
Okay, so walk me through it. What is going to happen there? Of course, presuming the world is back to normal somewhat.
Well, I mean, the idea is to make everyone aware of what's going on, and to get people engaged in the party itself. So if we don't have a wave of people coming into the party and feeling like the party has the integrity, then we're not going to do anything. I mean, they're not going to come to the party and deal with the same thing that they've done to Bernie Sanders, and that's so my whole thing has been mapping out and going through and basically doing a list and figuring out all these little ins and outs, problems, behaviors, vibes, energies that are keeping the party from growing. Finding out who the gatekeepers are, finding out where the disconnect is, why the structure isn't working, because it's just we're not organized, and it you would think that at this point people would have figured out how to connect the dots.
So what would be some of your solutions? I mean, what would be, like, let's say Chad Wilson gets the nomination. What are some of your solutions? Some of the problems that that you've brought up, some of the problems that I've even addressed, where I'm just saying, why isn't, I think one of the things that the Greens could do, I mean, one thing that I think should be a real big focus, and I don't have the solution on how to do that, would be to really target more young people.
Right.
And really get some young people involved. And you've hinted that this is a problem. You've hinted that, the Green Party is kind of stuck in their ways in some ways. And maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I'm not in the party. Again, I just want to hear what you have to say.
Right.
But what would be some things that Chad Wilson, who is the nominee at this point in our scenario, would do?
Well, so that's the whole point of having the nomination is having the resources of the party, and being able to take, there's 300,000 registered Greens right now, but the idea is to grow, but to utilize the resources that we have. If we all shared the same meme, the same content every day, and focus on the same thing as a unit, we could really make some waves. Social media is everything. I mean, we see right now that everybody's plugged in a different way, with this whole virus and stuff like that. So this is a great opportunity in order to show people that the solutions are out there. It's just that we're not connecting it. We're not using social media the way that it needs to be used. Because it's the first time we can literally tap in and really find out people's thoughts, really speak and in a way that, of course, people talk, they say stuff they're not going to say normally when they're in front of you. So it's a good thing, I think. But the idea is to, upset the establishment, set the establishment on fire, and I've proven that I can piss these people off. I can go in and utilize social media and create, create a whole system of these people getting pissed off. And that's something you can, my track record's there, but that's what we have to do. So everything else, if we don't break the two-party system, we're not doing anything. The policies are great, and there's tons of great ideas out there all across the board. The president's supposed to be kind of an organizer in chief, but the idea is to break the two-party system. People are tired of corruption. A lot of people, follow Trump because
how would you do that under the green banner? Like if you're the nominee, because it's like, and again, this is a heavy question, Chad. There is no one answer. No. I'm not expecting you to wave a wand or anything, but like, how would like your job would really be to make sure that 5% threshold is reached,
right?
To get that federal funding. And then, I think you really got to go to all of these organizations, all of these, I'm going to call them left organizations just for sake of, giving a broad enough umbrella, like DSA, SA. Like, you would have to go to these organizations and basically really try to convince a mass green enter.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. So the two-party system. So everybody's at a different place in their journey. Most people that are engaged in politics are mostly in the two-party system. It's the half of the country that can vote doesn't vote. And we see that. So it's about understanding why people think certain things are the vehicle. When you're in that two-party system, you only pick a side because you have to pick that side. So you have to ignore all your corruption in order to fight the other side. And so what we've seen, a lot of people that were going to vote for Bernie voted for Trump. A lot of people that voted for Obama voted for Trump. You could see it on Jimmy Dore. You could see it on there's a lot of, even in Tulsi Gabbard, there was libertarians. There was a lot of Trumpsters that respected her. And what it is, just calling out the Clintons, just calling out Obama, just asking for integrity on the left will take the wind out of the sails on the right. Because I feel like, right now, the liberal left, they're caught up so much in hating Trump that they're missing the point of how everything's being, everybody's being gaslit.
The mainstream, yeah, the
Right,
mainstream, absolutely.
and most people are on that. But then you have people on the right, they're seeing the manipulation of the media in real time. So they're on a process that I feel like in a way that they may get there sooner, because they're learning that they've been lied to, that the propaganda is real, and how manipulation works.
Well, some of them have.
Some of them.
I think again, you're talking about the outsiders. You're talking about kind of the outside right. Just like the left. No, I think so, man. Because there's a lot of people that they still, whatever Fox News tells them, they just take it hook, line, and sinker.
No, I agree with that. No, but that seems more like the older demographic. What I mean is that people are choosing a side based upon one or two issues that they feel like the vehicle for change. Like people are going for Bernie, for Medicare for all. A lot of people go for Trump because he upsets the establishment and people are tired of the BS. So it's not like those people that are just picking that side aren't going to go somewhere else if they find like, oh, this is a real motherfucker that really wants to set the establishment on fire. And I'm not a politician. That's the whole point. I'm an artist. I've dealt with a lot of different people, and I've been able to understand the pulse, the thread, the theme, like of different cultures, some things. So I'm trying to bring all that together and to say, hey, we're all it's the output of those policies. They're just affecting people, these different identities in different ways.
Well, so let's talk about your platform real quick, and then we'll tell everyone where to find you. So what are your main bullet points as far as your platform is concerned?
I want to do a cannabis coalition. I think that's a big key to this because of of all the things that it's connected to. There's more people in jail for cannabis than all violent crimes combined. Blacks and minorities are 4 to 5 times as likely to be put in jail, even though whites and blacks use about the same rate. So understanding the connection there to the healthcare reform, criminal justice, law agency, and then of course community relations. I think there's a way to get people on board with that. And that's something too, is like, because of the Green Party's been they've been considered the hippie and tree huggers and stuff like that. The right type of content, the right type of real branding, you can lean into that stuff and be funny with it. And you just have to open the doors and say, we're here, we're welcoming you. And just understand, we have to give information and ways for people to join, even regardless of where they're at in their process, because everybody has to be deprogrammed or reprogrammed at some point. 5 years ago, a lot of people thought differently, so that's
all right. And what else? All right. So that's why now healthcare, where are you at? Are you Medicare for all?
Medicare for all. I liked what Gaddafi did. You have people work for, you teach people how to, do all the things, and then let them work for the state for so many years, and then they can go into the private sector if they want, but there's a lot of different things, and there's a lot of good ideas. But the idea though is to get technology to a place where, most of these things are stamped out. The food shit, and that's a big problem. When it comes to the healthcare, the air, the water, all these different things have an effect on.
So are you for a Green New Deal? Are you for a Green New Deal?
No. The principle, it's just, I'm not, I say a guarantee. I want a green guarantee, because we can use our resources, organize our resources in order to make sure everybody's, clothed, fed, housed, that kind of thing. If you go to the country, you're going to find all these old houses, old buildings, some, you can reuse, and renew and repurpose this material. You could take the plastic. We're seeing how they're using that to 3D print. They got the hempcrete. There's a lot of things that we can do permaculture, that we can organize in a co-op fashion, and it's something we could do outside of the system. But if we had the system, and if we had control of the system, we can implement these things to make things move faster.
Okay. So you're for the principle of the Green New Deal. You're just not for government as it is instituting it. Is that?
No, I'm not for the branding of it. You know what I mean? You see, the New Deal thing has to do with the Democrats. I don't want to have anything to do with the Democrats, the Democratic Party. I'm not romantic about isms. You know, I say it
Okay.
kind of like the Ocean's 11. You know, people can say socialism or capitalism. You know, everybody's working together. Everybody does their role, their part in order for the large collective. So I'm tired of arguing and trying to think what you want, like what you want. If you need to for me to explain it to you in a different way, into a language that makes you comfortable, then I can do that. That's fine. But I'm not. I don't get. I'm just trying not to get romantic about what they use, the branding.
No, I understand, man. I understand. Well, cool. So where can people go to learn more about you?
You can go to chadwilson.us. You can go to Facebook, Chad Wilson 2020, or Twitter, Chad Wilson 2020. And my whole thing is to, set the establishment on fire, piss these people off. We have to really scare the hell out of them. But we have to recognize what they're willing to do to hold on to that power too, because that's a big something else. Like, anybody that's doing this that really thinks they're going to make change, they will knock your fucking head off, and they have no problems doing that. They have no problems. So it's something that understanding, if we really want change, the depth and the seriousness of the conversation really has to be talked about, because this is real shit, real life. So,
all right, Chad. Thanks for coming on, dude. We are over time.
Man.
I wish you luck. ChadWilson.us for anyone who wants to learn more. And I'll also say Snork Y2K. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. You gave me a super chat contribution, and you gave it for the cat food fund. Thank you very much, Chad.
Thank you,
and best wishes to you, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. So that was Chad Wilson. He is a candidate for president over in the Green Party. ChadWilson.us if you want to learn more about him. In the meantime, you know the drill. If you are so able, patreon.com/Ron Placone for a Give What You Can level. You get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album. Oh, and by the way, I've been doing shows. I've been doing some live shows for my patrons via Zoom. Those have been a lot of fun. We're actually doing another one tonight, and it's not too late. You can sign up over at patreon.com/Ron Placone, Give What You Can level, catch some live shows. Graham Elwood and I are going to be doing some live shows together as well, live shows, if you will. So keep an eye out for that. We're going to be making some announcements regarding that really, really soon. Tour dates, we're taking it one day at a time, and we are working on rescheduling all the April dates. We should have some more news for you soon. And, in the meantime, stay safe, do the best you can. Don't spend your $1,200 all in one place. And ChadWilson.us to learn more about today's guest, Chad. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.